Hi everybody, I'm Dinatali, the Shiny Guy, and welcome back to another episode of Debugging with Dean, a video series where I show you my debugging process for Shiny apps. In today's video, I want to show you a bug that I discovered in Shiny just about half an hour ago, and it's actually quite a significant bug, so I think that by the time I'll release this video, I imagine the bug would be fixed by then. Now, if this is your first time here, then you should consider subscribing to the channel so that you'll get all my other Shiny videos if you want to learn more. So with that, let's just get started. About 22 minutes ago, I got an email from GitHub saying that somebody had submitted an issue, a bug report to shinyjs, my package, and they said the title was that the reset function doesn't work. Now, the reset function has been working for years, and I don't recall changing it any time recently, so it was a bit strange to me. So I came into this issue, into the bug report, thinking that perhaps this person has a very complicated Shiny app, and the reset function just doesn't work in their very specific, complicated case. But coming to this page showed me that that's not the case. All they said here is that the reset function generates the following error, and then here they have a reproducible example, and it's very short. Now, this is a great reproducible example because it looks like it's just very minimal code that I can take and run myself. So this kind of scared me because if it's true that the reset function doesn't work in such a simple app, that means something is broken. So the first thing I would do is try to reproduce this and verify if this is indeed a bug or not. So I would go to my RStudio, and as always, the first thing I do is make sure I'm in a clean session, so Control-Shift-F10 on Windows to restart my session. And then let's put in the code that they provided. And just quickly looking at what it does is it builds a very simple page where we have a text input and a button, and then when the button is clicked, we call the shinyjs reset function. Now, the shinyjs reset function, just as a quick heads up, all it does is that if you have an input on your page, when you call reset, that input, the value of the input, will go back to what it was when the page first loaded. So let's see if indeed calling reset is breaking Shiny. So clicking the button, yes, we actually get an error from this very simple app. So that's not good. That really scared me. So what I would do now is, first of all, I would try to trim the code that they provided as much as I can. So we don't need these comments. They're really not very useful. I'll also get rid of the empty space, empty lines, just because it's a very simple app. In bigger apps, I do like white space, but in this one, we don't need those empty lines. Now, they also have a title panel here. That's not necessary, so I'll remove that. And I also see that they are using the shinyjs : namespacing in order to call the shinyjs functions. So that means that we don't need to explicitly load the package. So let's remove that. And again, I'll clear my session and make sure that with this more minimal example, I still reproduce the error. Yes, I can still reproduce the error. Okay, so it was great that they provided a reproducible example in the bug reports. It really was almost perfect. It just had these, few extra lines. So this is what I would have sent if I had reported that bug. Oh, also I see that there's a typo here. This should be button, I think. So now I know there's a bug in shinyjs, which is scary. So what I would do now is I know that I'm running the most up-to-date version of shinyjs, the one that I'm constantly working on, the one that's on GitHub, not the one that's on Cran. So first, because this is my package, I'm going to see if the Cran version also has this bug. So I'll install the Cran version of shinyjs to check that. So again, I restarted my session, and let's install shinyjs from Cran. So install.packages obviously takes the package from Cran. So if I had a more up-to-date version, this will go back to the last version that was submitted to Cran. And now let's try running this again. And again, that breaks. Now, I am positive 1000% that the reset function in such a simple context has worked in the past and has worked for many years because I have used it in a lot of different apps. Many other people have used it. So something here is weird. Now, this is where having a very minimal reproducible example comes in handy. Because in this app right now, I've been able to recreate an issue, and all that we have here is the Shiny package in shinyjs. And I've reverted my shinyjs package to the last Cran version at a point where I know that it worked. I know that this code would have worked when I submitted it to Cran. So the only other variable we have here is the Shiny package. So that tells me that perhaps, hopefully, the issue is somehow related to Shiny and not directly with shinyjs. But I still need to try to figure out why shinyjs is failing so I can pinpoint exactly what the problem is. So I know that calling the reset function breaks for some reason, somehow. So I'm right now inside the shinyjs package. It's my package, so I already have it loaded on my own computer. So let's try to find the reset function and see what happens in there. And again, to get that little go to file/function dialog, on Windows I pressed Control and period, and that brings this up. And using this I can easily find functions or file names. So now I'm inside the reset function, and for some reason this breaks. So the first thing I like to do when I have no idea what's going on is just putting little, very low-tech debug messages throughout the function to try to see at what point I'm getting an error. So wherever I see something that looks like a significant point in the function, I would put a little message. So let's put one here and one here. So actually, here we wouldn't be able to do it because it's inside a loop function. It would have to go in here. Now let's reload shinyjs. So on Windows I had to press Control-Shift-L because I'm inside the shinyjs package and I'm changing the package itself. Pressing Control-Shift-L reloaded the package to what I just did. And now let's try to run the same example and see if it's able to reach all the 5 messages. So click. I'm seeing 2 4s here. I don't know if this is somehow getting called twice, or did I just make a mistake and I have 2 4? Okay, I actually do have the message 4 twice, so that's why we're seeing 2 4s. And the reason we're seeing 1 2 3 5 4 instead of 1 2 3 4 5, that also makes sense, and that's because you'll notice that the message 4 is inside the observeEvent that I have here. So when the reset function gets called, all the lines of code are run sequentially. So 1 2 3 gets hit. Then once we get to the observer, the code inside the observer doesn't run just yet. We just go to the end of the function, and then the code inside the observer gets run once the reactive event of it gets triggered. So that's why 4 goes at the end. But the strange thing here is that we actually did get all the 5 messages printed out. So we actually got all the way to the end of the function. We got all the way here, but we're still seeing an error. Now, this is strange and a bit difficult to work with because usually when we have an error inside a function, the error halts the execution of the function. So it just stops there. So putting messages inside the function at different points would kind of tell you at what point in the function you have the error. But in this case, we're calling the reset function, and it actually goes all the way to completion. We get all the way to the end, but we are getting an error still. So that is a bit of a strange situation. So the next thing I would do now is when I find myself in a strange situation where I'm not sure what to do next when I'm troubleshooting, the thing I would do now is try to deconstruct, try to eliminate as much code as I can while still reproducing the error. Because the smallest piece of code that you have, that will tell you exactly where the error lies. So first I'm going to Control-Z to undo all the messages I added. Let's stop the app from running as well. And now I'm going to just slowly remove code from the app. So actually, instead of slowly doing it, I'll kind of go the other way around. So let's first try removing, almost all of the code. So I just commented almost the entire function, and only this is still inside. Let's reload shinyjs and rerun. Okay, that seems to be fine. Actually, just to be a little bit faster, instead of having to click the button to do the reset, let's just do the reset right away when the app runs. Okay, so now reset was called when the app started, but we didn't see any error. So that means that the error is somewhere in these commented out lines. So let's try commenting or uncommenting some of these lines. Reload shinyjs and rerun. Okay, still no error. That's fine. So now we're getting to this observer. So we have to uncomment the observer. So now we've come back to the same spot we were before where the entire function is uncommented. So I just kind of want to make sure that it still does generate an error. Okay, it did. So this means that somewhere inside the observer, for some reason, Shiny is able to go through it, but it fails somehow afterwards. So what I'm going to do is let's try to eliminate the code inside the observer. So what do we have inside here? We have a big lapply. So let's go and just comment out that entire lapply. It'll stop here. So now all I have inside my observer is really just a single line. Let's see if that still generates an error. Yep, I still get an error. Okay, so let's just go ahead and remove literally everything inside my observer. And now, when I reload shinyjs and rerun, I still get an error. So that tells me that for some reason, this is causing a problem. Now, just to verify, if I comment this out and rerun, no error. So 100% something about this is causing a problem. Now, I kind of have a suspicion that the problem lies within Shiny and not in shinyjs because of what I said before, because I'm on the Cran version of shinyjs. So just to verify that that's what's happening, I know that my current version of Shiny, let me show you, package version of Shiny. I'm on the dev version of Shiny, so I'm currently using a version that is just from a few days ago of Shiny. So let's see what happens if I go back to the Cran version of Shiny, if that fixes things. So I'll reinstall Shiny from Cran. Okay, so I'm back at the Cran version of Shiny. And now if I try to run the same app, now there's no problem. So that tells us that there really is a problem that was introduced into Shiny between the last Cran version to what Shiny is today on GitHub. So I could just submit a bug report now to Shiny saying that there is a problem with observeEvent. I'm not sure where exactly, but I wouldn't really be able to give them much reproducible code, right? I could point them to shinyjs, to this line in shinyjs, and say that somehow this is failing. But it would be more useful if I was able to get a reproducible example that is a standalone application that just uses Shiny, that reproduces the error. So first, I need to go back to the latest version of Shiny, the one that actually has the problem. So let's install the latest version of Shiny. So it's RStudio Shiny. Okay, so now we're back at the newest version of Shiny, the development version. And the first thing I'll do is make sure that with this version of Shiny, the bug exists again. So let's run my app again. Yeah, so now it breaks again. So now what I need to do is just figure out exactly, or try to at least figure out a slightly more specific reason of why it's breaking or where it's breaking. So if I'm looking at this observer, it looks very standard. I do notice that I'm using this parameter once equals true. It's not a parameter that is often used. It's not the most common. So let's just see if maybe that's what's causing a problem. So let's make a simple Shiny app. And we'll just put an observer in it. Well, we'll need a button to trigger the observer. So action button, go, and then when the button is clicked, we'll show a message. So this should work just fine. That's okay. And now let's just see what happens if I do say once equals true. All right, so we can see that this is actually what is breaking Shiny. So now we have narrowed it down to something very specific. So now I can open a bug report in Shiny telling them that the once parameter, when it's set to true, causes a fatal error. And that's exactly what I ended up doing. So I actually opened up a bug report with Shiny, and I told them exactly that this is the problem. Now, as I said before, I think that this is going to be considered a pretty high priority bug for them. So I imagine it's going to be solved fairly quickly, like within a day or a few days. But I'm also going to try to troubleshoot it myself soon, so I might make another video of me trying to debug that specific bug. And I really hope this was useful for you. If you did find it useful, if you want to see more videos like this, then just make sure to subscribe so that you'll get all my latest content. And that's it. See you next time.